Hi, my name is Alfred Moliere, and as the opposition, I'm speaking to you all today to prove to you that being a vegetarian is not a better ethical choice than meat eating. Human beings are, by nature, omnivores, which means we eat both vegetation and the meat of other animals, and have been doing so since the dawn of our species' time. However, over the past several decades, the notion of meat eating has acquired a negative stigma to it, and I attribute this stigma to the existence and predominance of factory farms in the world. Factory farms raise and slaughter livestock at an exorbitant rate that causes serious issues for human beings, animals, and the environment, as the proposition has accurately pointed out. However, condemning the entire practice of meat eating as a result of this one incorrect practice of meat harvesting would be a premature move. That is why I would like to identify another practice of harvesting that is much more favorable to all humans, animals, and the environment alike, and that is the practice of sustainable or family farming. According to the researchers of the organization Greenpeace, family farming is beneficial in many ways. For instance, whereas factory farm animals are kept in cramped cages that are both physically and psychologically damaging, family farming animals are treated humanely and are permitted to carry out natural behaviors such as rooting in the dirt and pecking the ground. Furthermore, animals on factory farms are raised without routine use of antibiotics, and antibiotics are administered only if an animal is sick. Some farmers, for instance, such as organic farmers, do not give any antibiotics to their animals. Another major benefit of factory farms deal with the farmhands themselves. Whereas factory farm workers are paid meager wages to work in dangerous and hazardous conditions, farmhands on family farms are provided with safe working environments and are treated with dignity and respect by their employers. In fact, a transition from a reliance on meat from factory farms to family farms can actually solve for many of the qualms the proposition has with meat eating in the first place. The proposition stated that meat eating is bad for the environment because 14.5% of methane in the atmosphere is a result of farm animals. While this fact is true, it does not prove that being a vegetarian is a better ethical choice than meat eating, for there are many ways to reduce meat eating's impact on the environment, such as my previously mentioned transition to family farm meat. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, by improving breeding and animal health interventions to allow cattle herd sizes to shrink naturally in concordance with using better feeds and feeding techniques with all livestock, the methane levels caused by livestock could be reduced by about 30%, thus lowering the methane production to a much less damaging level to the atmosphere. These practices are the exact same measures that are taken on family farms and not factory farms, therefore supporting my previous proposal to rely on family farm meat. The proposition also mentioned that meat eating could lead to world hunger. I completely agree with the argument that the amount of grain and other agricultural products that are allocated to livestock is incredibly high and most certainly should be distributed to starving human families as opposed to farm animals. Luckily, the proposition and I are not alone in this line of thinking. Dr. Felice Jacka, PhD Associate Professor from Deakin Barrowan Psychiatric Research Unit, would also agree with the aforementioned argument because livestock such as cattle, for example, should not be feeding on grains but instead feeding on grass, a food source that is inedible to humans. In her research, she has said, in many other countries, the cattle are kept in feedlots and fed grains, rather than grass. This results in a much less healthy meat with much more saturated fat and fewer healthy fats. These feedlots Dr. Jacka refers to are typical of factory farms, whereas on family farms, these food supplies are not wasted on livestock, and instead the livestock are allowed to naturally graze on grass. Finally, the proposition mentions the issue of human health in terms of meat consumption. The issue of whether or not red meat is healthy for human beings is a highly contested issue in modern medical science today. In fact, I believe that the quote by Dr. Joseph Mercola that the proposition uses, that eating red meat is linked to causing heart disease due to the higher cholesterol levels, is actually taken out of context. I believe this because in an article written by Dr. Mercola on June 28, 2012, entitled "Red Meat Can Be Part of a Healthful Diet," Dr. Mercola stresses that while too much red meat can lead to health issues, a moderate amount of lean red meat, about 3 to 4, 6 to 8 ounce servings per week, may actually be important for mental health. The doctor also states that meat from grass-fed cattle that are not exposed to any antibiotics or growth hormones, such as the meat one would find on family farms, has many health benefits for human beings, such as higher levels of vitamins E and B, important minerals like calcium and potassium, and high and healthy levels of conjugated linoleic acids, which have been proven to help shrink people's waistlines, which personally I think is excellent. After listening to my counterplan on the resolution that being a vegetarian is not a better ethical choice than meat eating, when that meat is from family farms and not factory farms, I hope you can clearly see that I have presented you with a logical course of action on the matter. Again, I thank you for your time and your consideration.